do groceries, coffee, pizza, and pasta have in common? They're all things that were available at one time, up till the present day, in this building. This is Vendome block, built in 1912 in Sunnyside in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. The plaque in front describes it as a typical commercial building, but it's not so typical anymore. In fact, it's only one of a handful of commercial buildings still operating in Sunnyside. In the last while, I've been curious about the history of the building. For instance, this plaque. There's some interesting facts here, but note the date, 1996. That's almost 30 years ago. 3 different food establishments have operated here since then. But let's go back to 1885. Calgary, Alberta is established as a city. The neighborhood of Sunnyside, Calgary, sits north of downtown and across the Bow River. Sunnyside is incorporated into the city in 1904. The streetcar line actually ran in front of the Vendome block along 2nd Avenue. In my opinion, we should bring back the streetcars. They haven't been around since the 1950s. In 1912, contractor George W. Ray built and continued to own Vendome block, named after Place Vendome in Paris. The building has 3 main areas that have endured many restorations and renovations in the last century. All the culinary ventures have occupied the west or left side of the bottom floor. The upper story has always been residential apartments, which received a restoration in the 2010s. We can peek inside thanks to commercial architecture firm Frank's website photos. Looks fancy. There's a smaller commercial space on the east or right side of the building. Surely this must have been home to the candy shop, meat market, and shoe repair shop that the plaque describes. Currently, this space is unoccupied. Let's create a timeline of the anchor businesses. 1912 to 1988, North Star Grocery. 1989 to 2009, Heartland Cafe. 2009 to 2024, Vendome Cafe. And of course, 2025 to now, Acme Pizza and Pasta Company. I'd done my research for dates and facts, but was still wondering why this building was considered a community cornerstone, apart from its architectural significance and of course the tasty treats. I've been living in the neighborhood for about a dozen years, but I wanted to talk to someone who'd been living here a bit longer. I interviewed Peggy, a longtime resident of Sunnyside. I also presented her with this, the Heartland Cafe Cookbook. I actually found this in the neighborhood in one of the book boxes. I'm going to pass this to you and see if you have any any memories or recollections.
I have memories of this cookbook, and
oh my goodness,
I absolutely love it. As well as making the recipes, I remember when it first went on sale, it went like hotcakes.
Oh wow!
Because these are the recipes of I recall now when I look in the book of the main chef here, whose name was hmkch. Alice was an absolutely marvelous chef.
Excellent.
And the food at Heartland Cafe was delicious. I do remember when they first came to the neighborhood, it was a grocery store.
Yes.
When I moved here in 1988, the grocery store was still open.
Okay, yes.
I remember having good chats with the proprietor and him telling me that he was going to close.
Right.
And I remember when Heartland Cafe came, having chat with them before they actually opened and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It was, as far as I'm concerned, it was a real loss to the community when Heartland left. I think that was important about Heartland was people came from all over the city for their coffee.
Oh, okay. Not just the neighborhood.
Their coffee was superb, not just the neighborhood. Vendome was a nice enough place
Fair enough.
to go to.
Yeah.
Their coffee was not as good as Heartland.
That's what I hear.
And everybody's and we talked to them about it. I sent them I sent the owner of Vendome an email encouraging them to
You gotta step it up. Yeah.
step it up as far as the coffee is concerned.
Yeah, sure.
There was quite a warm, friendly atmosphere that went there. The staff was very friendly.
Yeah, the staff made it, I think.
Flexible for letting people use part of the facility
Yes.
to have meetings and discussions
right. Yes, of
and
course.
that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So that was nice.
proper thing.
Yeah, that was a very nice aspect of their tenancy.
Yeah.
And they had music at one time in Vendome.
Oh, I didn't even remember
Yeah,
that.
they did have music. I forget when, but a couple times I went when they had music, and that was very nice.
Okay. I think you mentioned that you've tried the pizza already, but what are you hoping to see from the place in the next couple years? Anything new or things you were hoping that would stay the same from the old businesses?
Well, I can say already that their pizza is delicious.
That's great to hear.
So they're not going to have any problem, I don't think. Because it's one thing that we haven't had yet
Yes, right.
on 2nd Avenue
Yeah.
is an actual restaurant like
Right.
that where you can get pizza and pasta and so
Yeah,
on.
I think Vendome was trying, but it was a little bit confusing because they had kept the name and branding of the cafe and moved to having a full kitchen. But I think that just confused people, and I personally didn't see a lot of people. Like, I've seen more people eating there in the last few weeks than I did in Vendome for like 4 or 5 years. So
No,
per night, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I think people understand what the concept is here. Thanks for the reminiscences and filling in some gaps of things that I'd wondered about this business and building and part of the neighborhood that is evolving. So
It not only brought back great memories for me, it brought back memories about the various people that I regularly went to Heartland Cafe with, or memories about the people that I went to Vendome with. So that was very nice. It brought back lots of memories that way.
Excellent. Inspired by Peggy and our evening together, I wanted to try a recipe from the cookbook for myself. It chose lemon poppy seed muffins. Peggy had mentioned the Heartland Cafe recipes were healthy. The most obvious aspect of this for these muffins was using margarine instead of butter. I think that was a very early 1990s thing, but maybe they made these the same way up until 2009. The instructions were a bit sparse, but easy enough to follow. It certainly doesn't hold your hand like, say, Company's Coming does. I genuinely felt a little bit more connected to my neighborhood putting these in the oven to bake. Has anyone made this recipe in decades? I mean, I'm sure they have, if the cookbook was as popular as Peggy says. Maybe they did last week. Home baking is, of course, delightful. But the only thing that could possibly top that is a neighborhood parade with a giant inflatable sun. Oh yeah. Here we're actually walking past the other historical grocery store brick building / K-pop cafe, and some, shout out. And look, Acme Pizza, serving the community. Thanks for joining me, as always, for this walk down memory lane.